All right. What's up, people? How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving break. Thanksgiving time. Mine was good, and I was really disconnected for about 4 days from pretty much everything that was going on. Although I saw some glimpses here and there. We're live on Odyssey, Substack, and on YouTube. YouTube is a piece of poop. You want to know why? I mean, on top of them committing fraud all the time. I very occasionally get paid out from YouTube these days because they're committing fraud on my channel and like just have destroyed my channel and my ability to like get paid from doing videos on YouTube. The silliest thing, in November last month, at the beginning of the month, I just happened to glance at my YouTube earnings, and they won't pay you out unless you make $100. You have to make $100 threshold, and I get that. That happens like maybe a couple times a year, maybe. So I looked at my account, and I had like $104 on there, and they're like, "Hey, all right, you're going to get a payment on this day or whatever." I never got a payment. And so I went to go back and look at my app, and it was at $94. So they basically stole money out of my account so that they wouldn't have to pay me. These so-and-sos. Man. It infuriates. It's only $100, but it kind of infuriates me, right? Because I was actually counting on that money. I was expecting that money to come into my account and it never came. So I'm at $94. If anybody wants to throw a super sticker at me or something, in the next couple days so I can get paid this month, that'd be awesome. I don't know if they're going to take it from my account again. Well, yeah, I don't know, because they're criminals. They commit fraud. They steal money from people on their on the platform. So I don't know. I don't know how you it's getting harder to conduct business these days with certain entities, because they're just not trustworthy, which is why one of the reasons why I always encourage people to please go over to other platforms and watch the show. Why? Because YouTube is a piece of shit. I know there's a lot of, informative videos on YouTube. I know it's very easy. I know, blah, blah, blah. They're a piece of shit. They're literally stealing money from people and committing fraud. So, I don't know why you want to support that. Whatever. But good to see you guys. What happened? What happened was over the Thanksgiving break. What's up? Reflect the Sun over on Odyssey. What's up? Peace to you. Girl, I don't know why I can't send this hand signal. Hey, okay, maybe we'll do that. We'll do it like that. Yeah, Victory Chin summed it up. Fuck YouTube. Clowns. Absolute clowns. Absolute freaking clowns. Yeah, it's demoralizing, but whatever. What happened over? I'll put the comments on the screen. So what's up? Did you guys have did everybody have a good Thanksgiving? Did you guys, other than YouTube and the shenanigans, I had a pretty good break here's guys. All did. There were some people. Oh, Reflect the Sun. Well, there you go. Thanks, Reflect the Sun. Sweet deal. Appreciate you. What happened? Some National Guard soldiers were supposedly killed by a radicalized person. The second that I saw this story, I was like, that is some bullshit right there. That is a lie. That is a straight like that. It took me about 0.3 seconds to realize that this was a bullshit story. When you see stuff like this, there's so many fake things going on, so much fraud going on, from the government, on behalf of the Trump administration and everywhere else. Whatever. Well, so honestly, Substack pays me money. You could subscribe to me on Substack, or they have paid subscriptions. If you subscribe and you do a paid subscription, and you can make it whatever amount you want, you can subscribe to me on Substack. I mean, there's lots of ways to support the show that is not YouTube. I just, it's not that I really rely on the money. It's just, I don't even really count it. It's just that the idea that oh, hey, we're going to, you're going to get paid. And then they're like, haha, just kidding. That bullshit that they pulled was really frustrating. Anyways, I don't count on YouTube for anything. I'm just doing YouTube because everybody likes to watch on YouTube. And I do YouTube because we're all here. But Every time I leave YouTube, I lose viewers because everybody's like, I don't know what to do. Where did he go? What's happening? I don't understand. Everybody gets really like freaks out. So it hurts me to leave YouTube. If anyways. So yeah, there was a shooting, National Guard. This happened Wednesday, so a while ago. I was, busy doing real world things, I guess. I was hanging with my family and stuff. So I wasn't really like, could see things happening. I just wasn't really, I was just out of the corner of my eye. But when I saw this, I was like, this is a bullshit story. This is full bullshit. Everything full on bullshit. Like, it took me no time. And, all you got to do is like, some National Guard troops were shot, and like, play up the heartstrings. I'm not saying that they weren't shot. I'm just saying this was like some kind of MK Ultra CIA false flag event that they did in order to whip up support for what? To wind up the whole like terrorism story again. To wind up the whole support our troops thing again, to wind up the whole, it sucks because they used, if these National Guard troops did die, they used these people to further political interests, which is a despicable, disgusting, criminal act. You should hate the people that do this stuff. Don't hate the people that are telling you that the story, don't hate the people that are telling you the realness or non-realness of the story. Don't be mad at the people calling it out. Be mad at the people that are willing to do this kind of stuff to generate propaganda. It's horrific. On Wednesday, a gunman opened fire near the White House on National Guard members stationed in Washington. Bullshit. 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 Nobody's like, oh, go see some National Guard people. Like, and yeah, whatever. One of the victims, Sarah Beckstrom, died Thursday, while the other Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains hospitalized. Again, we assume this happened. We assumed we assumed they passed away. Sarah Beckstrom died. We don't, do we have proof of, any of this other than stuff they told us? No. The suspect was shot by a National Guard member and is also hospital. Well, thank God the National Guard are standing around in Washington, D.C. These people are liars and crooks, and they try to tell you with a straight face that, oh, this is, this is a tragedy that we made happen. You should be infuriated at this nonsense. What President Trump has put in place now for vetting is biometric information. Check. Right? Pat Tillman was taken out by friendly fire. Yeah. Friendly fire. Biometric information checking social media platforms. Check. Communications, contacts, matching updates of service. That was never done under Joe Biden. Joe Biden just didn't have the public safety in mind. He was a communist. He was a radical leftist. It just gets dumber and dumber and dumber. And that's what you get for electing radical leftists like Mom Johnny. I am a bobblehead. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I am a total, complete, knuckle-dragging moron. Let's see. So apparently he was an Afghan refugee, and apparently what has been found out is that he is linked to the CIA. Really? Oh gosh. Oh gee. It's like every news story is a repetition of itself. Like, thanks, John. John is watching me on Substack and on YouTube. It's like every news story is a repetition of the same, like, fake stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Just like I said. Just like I said. Let's see. So the guy, the suspect is Ramanullah. Are you guys aren't even seeing any of this? Sorry. Suspect doesn't, like it matters, but I am actually reading a story. The suspect, Ramnullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national, entered the U.S. as part of Operation Allies. Oh, it was Biden's fault, yo. He let in this wild-eyed lunatic terrorist after the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Lakhanwal was granted asylum by the Trump administration earlier this year. Lakhanwal granted asylum by the Trump administration. The CIA said Thursday that Lakhanwal previously worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA. As a member of partner force in Kandahar that ended in 2021. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired reading this story. Just the LAPD needs to teach the CIA how to do a better psyop. What does that mean? I don't know. So the guy worked with the CIA. He was an op during the Afghan. It's like, I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that all of the news is fake or everything that's happening is fake. But, like, honestly, these days, everything that happens around the Trump administration and in the last year is fake. Nothing that's happening is real. Like, and it's I feel like it's kind of obvious. I don't know, the fake, crime in cities that they're responding to, the fake immigration scare, the fake, everything, the fake Argentina drug thing, it's all nonsense. And there's like parallel worlds going on, because I feel like there's this lunatic world that the Trump administration and the media have made up in part, partnered to make. Like this lunatic, unreal. Charlie Kirk was fake. Everything is fake. Everything is fake. So they're just making up all this stuff in order to, give themselves a reason to, push in a biometric digital ID, social media, it seems fairly obvious that that's what they're doing. They should make the guards' uniform out of indestructible Arab passport paper. Yes. But everything that's happened this year is a complete, Doge is fake. It's all of it is fake. All of it is fake. Nothing is real. And then, so there's that world, right, that they've created, as a, something that actually they're responding to. But everybody else is like, and I'd say that's probably the majority of, I don't think that there's a lot, I'm sure there are people out there that, are unfortunate to, enough to buy this stuff. But like, I'd say that those people are in a massive minority, right? I think the massive majority of the U.S. citizenry is like, But why are we letting this continue? Like, what's going on? I did hear that quite a few officials in the Trump administration are living on military bases. Like that's how they're signaling to you that they know that what they're doing has massive, implications and or repercussions eventually, or maybe they're setting it up, that way. Maybe they intend for there to be repercussions, whatever. And they're living on military bases because they're afraid of the blowback. So it's clear if you understand that is happening, it's clear that they know that we know that they're full of shit. It's wild, man. Oh, Kristi Noem is out here, running her big fat propaganda mouth. Like I just can't, I don't even really want to play this because these people are insane. But this is what they're saying on national TV.
We believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this
Quiet. Lady, quiet. He's a government op, yo. This is a false flag. You're a liar. Stop it.
We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him, who were his family members, to talk to them. So far, we've had some participation, but
you're very serious. Oh, you're so serious, and this is just such real news. You're so serious.
One who has information on this needs to know that we will be coming after you.
Whatever. And go after yourself. Just, stop it. Just stop it, people. Stop it. You're gross. And, they just tried to ramp up some stuff over the weekend. It was annoying. Another thing that Trump declared the airspace over Venezuela closed. They want to be close to the evacuation arcs, says Chuck. On top of all this stuff that's happening, I saw a really weird video over the last couple of days about the advances in regenerative stem cells and the fact that people are going to China to buy these treatments for a few $1 million that'll turn the time back on your on your lifespan. Okay. Not only did Trump declare the airspace over Venezuela closed and ramp up this whole Maduro is a narco trafficker. As he's doing this, he pardons Honduras's ex-president who was accused of trafficking, being a narco trafficker. Juan Orlando Hernandez. He was a Latin American president accused of colluding with some of the region's most ruthless narco bosses to flood the United States with cocaine. He turned the country into what many called a narco state. Trump last week pledged to pardon the Honduran president, despite the fact that Hernandez was sentenced last year to 45 years in prison for allegedly creating a cocaine superhighway to the United States. Can we get a jail time like that for an ex-president? Can we get, I don't know, 40, 50 years for all these war criminals that have preceded Trump and for Trump? Can we do that? Is there a way that we could prosecute these, raging lunatic monsters? At least in other countries, there are consequences to, doing something illegal. Not here, no, sir. The people of Honduras really thought he was set up. I wonder who he was set up by. I'm gonna take one wild guess on who he was set up by. Yep. The people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. Trump told reporters on Sunday he was the president of the country, and they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with him. Boy. Trump's intervention in favor of Hernandez, who is known by his initials JOH, has baffled many observers, with one drug enforcement agency calling the move lunacy. There, a DEA agent agrees with me about the lunacy of the people in charge. Why would the U.S. president use his war on drugs as a justification for overthrowing Maduro? Because it's not a war on drugs. Despite what many see as flimsy evidence that the Venezuelan leader really is a narco boss, because it's not about war on drugs. While simultaneously offering a get-out-of-jail-free card to a man already found guilty of such crimes in a Manhattan federal, because there is no war on drugs. We actually traffic the drugs. We want the drugs. We make the drugs. That's why we were in Afghanistan for 20 years. Jesus fucking Christ. We are the fucking cartel. We are the cartel. We are the cartel. We are the cartel. Which leads me to the question again, why aren't these people getting 40, 50-year jail sentences? They should. Because they should. If you commit war crimes or fraud or lie or deceive the American people or commit treason or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you should go to jail. Go to jail. Not just like, oh, you're impeached and, you'll get a severance and a seat on a financial board somewhere. No, you should go to jail. Anyways, this is wild. It's a wild story. So this is what happened over the weekend. Trump reportedly gave Maduro an ultimatum to relinquish power in Venezuela. That's not democracy, bro. That's not democracy. That's just pushing somebody around with, basically lies, because somehow we're a moral authority, which we are not. We're not. I actually was stunned and amazed today when I woke up and saw a Facebook post from a friend of mine who actually was saying it's good that Hillary didn't win, because we might still be in a dream state of thinking that this country is somehow has some moral upstanding qualities. Like we're still a, bastion of freedom and democracy. But Trump just, held a mirror up and exposed all of that. And she thought that might actually be a good thing. I was like, wow. Freaking deep insight on Facebook. Who knew? I was pleasantly surprised. Let's see. Bella GOP representative Maria Elvira Salazar said the U.S.'s push to remove the Maduro regime from power in Venezuela is imminent and will be extremely beneficial for American oil companies. Woo. Of course. Oh no. Pelosi's running for oh no. Pelosi's daughter. No. Trump declared Venezuela's airspace closed in its entirety. Let's see. Wild, wacky stuff, y'all. F. Elon. Odyssey is not showing me when the show is live. Good job, Substack tells me. Can only see Black Bear News by going direct to your channel. Greetings. All right. Odyssey doesn't show you when you're. Well, yeah. I mean, the best way is to go to the channel, and you know what time the show is. The show is the same time every day. So, but thanks for finding me on Odyssey. And thanks for watching on Odyssey. Appreciate it. Thanks to the Patreoners too. They aggregate the donations at the end of the month. So, to everybody who is still a dedicated, diehard Patreoner in the month of November, thank you. Chelsea Clinton is next. Yeah. Well, and you also know that there are like, I don't know, a handful of political entities in California that have run the state for ever since it was created. Like Newsom is one. I don't know. It's like there's 6 families that control the whole state, and Newsom is connected to one of those families, and they just pass the reins back and forth. And I'm sure in some kind of high level meeting somewhere in Lake Tahoe or the mountains or something. It's like in The Godfather. Where were they in? Were they in Lake Tahoe or Reno? That's not in California. Where did Michael have another house? Right, they moved their compound. They had the casino game, and they had their house like in the mountains somewhere. Maybe it was Reno. I can't remember. The Venezuelan fiasco is costing us taxpayers mucho bucks. Mr. Wizard posted something on Substack. Let's see. Yeah, for sure. Let's read this from Nate Bear real quick. The U.S. has locked down Venezuela. All foreign airlines have canceled flights in and out of the country. 29 million people trapped and at the mercy of the most bloodthirsty, unrestrained, and immoral military in the history of the world. Trump tweeted late on Saturday that all airlines should consider the airspace above Venezuela closed. Across social media, people whined that Trump had no authority to do such a thing. You can't just tweet the closure of an entire country's airspace. Real talk, a sovereign country. The funniest tweet I saw said Trump was violating international law. This received many approving retweets from presumably people who have learned nothing from the last 2 years, or the last 20, or the last 50, or the last 70. Yeah. We are the world's USA world police. Or Team USA. There is no such thing as international law. There is U.S. empire. There is U.S. imperial impunity. There is hard power. There are B-52 bombers. There are 800 American military bases in 8 countries. There are strike teams. There are death squads. There is mass child killing. There is enforced starvation. There are genocides. There is apartheid. There are consequences for crossing the empire, consequences which are often cloaked in the language and justifications of international law. But concrete, enforceable, universalist international law that restrains violent state actions, regardless of the offender, not a chance. Which is why our, war criminal presidents, if anything, at the very most, get maybe impeached and run out of office. Maybe. They will never face any financial repercussions. They'll never face any legal or criminal repercussions. They'll never see the inside of a cell. In other countries, they believe in that stuff. Or they believe in chasing people, out of the government offices and into the rivers naked while hitting them with sticks. I'm all right with that too. I suppose we do things more civilized, but can we just do something? Maybe we don't have to run people into the river naked with beating them with sticks, but we could arrest them and put them in jail. But, when you consider the disgusting things that they do in order to achieve their ends, I don't know. I don't know about civilized. Maybe they don't deserve civilized. Case in point, the U.S. has extrajudicially murdered at least 80 Venezuelans in the last few months, claiming they were running drugs, some of whom were subsequently revealed to be impoverished fishermen just out fishing to feed their families. So no, there is no international law. It's an aspirational idea. And yes, despite supposed norms and what the letter of the law says, despite the fact that the leader of one country shouldn't be able arbitrarily to force the closure of another country's airspace, there's only hard power. Right now, there is no air traffic over Venezuela, and what appears to be a prelude for a bombing campaign on the fake pretext that President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, is the head of a drug trafficking narco gang. At least for Iraq, they put in some effort. This latest fiction is straight out of a Lee Child novel, and it is as laughable and badly written as any Jack Reacher romp. If you're unfamiliar with the pretext the White House is invoking to launch attacks on Venezuela and oust or kill Maduro, here's some brief background. El Cartel de los Soles, or the Cartel de los Soles. The U.S. government says Maduro is the head of a drug trafficking gang called El Cartel de los Soles, or the Cartel of the Suns. His name had largely disappeared from the public record, but in recent months, U.S. officials have dusted down the archives and revived a name they're extremely familiar with. The U.S. government knows all about El Cartel de los Soles because they invented it. This is not a conspiracy. This is a public record fact. In the mid-1980s, drug traffickers were eluding American efforts to stop cocaine coming into the country. So the CIA and DEA came up with a plan. They'd establish their own gang to illuminate and infiltrate drug trafficking networks. To this end, the CIA recruited the head of Venezuela's National Guard anti-drug unit, General Roman Guillen Davila, who set up and operationalized the Cartel of the Suns. Under Guillen Davila, the Cartel de los Soles shipped 22 tons of cocaine into U.S. cities. This bait cartel was shut down in 1993 when it lost its utility to the U.S., only to be revived in 2025 as a pretext for bombing Venezuela. In 1993, U.S. TV news magazine program 60 Minutes ran an episode on it, and in recent weeks, even imperially loyal CNN has had to admit that this pretext might be a little far-fetched. Right. So if you find yourself sitting around believing this story, well, don't. The U.S. then is inventing a story within a story. The Trump administration is reviving a boogeyman the U.S. created in the first place and is placing a new boogeyman in Maduro atop their original creation, all so they can kill them both. This is the Frankenstein's monster of regime change operations. Lee Child meets Mary Shelley. And on this fiction, Justice Department lawyers are drafting a legal rationale for an attack on Venezuela, a rationale that will allow Trump to conduct military strikes, almost certainly a decapitation operation against Maduro, without congressional approval. Trump's tweet suggests the rationale is drafted and the attack is imminent. The forces are already in place following a massive military buildup in the Caribbean over the last few months. And just to be clear, Venezuela isn't even a top 5 drug producing country in Latin America. Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia are far and away the regional leaders in production. And Venezuela isn't a particularly important transit point either. Logistically, it just doesn't make sense. Most volume comes overland through Mexico, not thousands of miles across the ocean. So no, this isn't about drugs. This is about 2 other related things: hemispheric dominance and oil. Lots and lots of delicious oil. U.S. puppet Machado, they have said so themselves just the other day. Republican Congresswoman Maria Salazar, the child of Cuban exiles and predictably therefore a rabid proponent of intervention in Latin America, said that offing Maduro would be a windfall for us when it comes to fossil fuels. In an interview with Fox News, she gushed about Venezuela has larger reserves than Saudi Arabia, and the U.S. puppet that comes to power after Maduro, most likely Maria Corina Machado, will gladly hand those reserves over. She also said so herself. In an interview with Donald Trump Jr. in October, yes, you read that right, she said with a frantic look in her eyes, "Forget Saudi Arabia. I mean, we have more oil than them. I mean, endless possibilities. We will privatize our entire industry for you. American companies will profit greatly." Machado is also a crazed Zionist who has described Israel's struggle as Venezuela's struggle. Whoa. This is the woman who just won the Nobel Peace Prize. It's also wildly outrageous and transparently evil that it would be funny if the consequences for millions of people were life or death. The new regime change episode has echoes of 1989 when the U.S. invaded Panama to remove Manuel Noriega, the leader of Panama, and a former CIA asset who was paid millions by the U.S. for spying on left-wing groups in the country. Noriega was a legitimate drug runner, and the CIA overlooked his side hustle because of his value as an anti-communist, anti-socialist agent. He also, in the end, like all those who foolishly get in bed with the U.S. imperial power, outlived his usefulness. He lived in Pasadena for a while, by the way, interestingly enough. In the case of Maduro, however, the claims of his drug-running status are entirely fictional. But nothing has or will stop the U.S. in its bloodlust and oil lust. America is a sick, twisted, and depraved structure of global imperial control, and we should recognize why a decapitation strike is the form of attack we're about to see. Because for the last 2 years, first under Biden and then under Trump, the U.S. has gleefully authorized its revolting Middle East proxy to undertake such strikes in Lebanon, in Iran, in Yemen, and in Qatar. Israel, with U.S. weapons and intelligence, has assassinated scores of political leaders. The unadulterated manly power of missile striking an opponent to death just can't be matched. To men like Trump, Netanyahu, Biden, Obama, and all those before them, the friction, the glory, the control, and the domination such an attack broadcast is the peak of power. This godlike power is for these men beyond laws, the peak of human existence itself. The oil is the prize, a display of American military power in the region, a bonus. So Venezuela airspace has been closed by U.S. decree to most airlines. Dozens of flights a day no longer operational. No international flights, no freight, no deliveries. A country waiting for the benevolent bombs to fall as U.S. empire continues this decades-long global rampage of terror in the name of oil and resources or freedom. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guys, if you want to support the show, you know how to support the show. There are lots of links in the description box of whatever platform you're watching on. You know what to do. You know, there's a little pass the hat moment. We're going to pass the hat, support the show. Imagine, if you will, hallucinate, if you will, a hat in front of you. You drop a buck in or whatever. All right. Hold on. We're going to move on to another story. But let me check something because I have something on the stove right now. So give me one moment, guys. All right, we're back. Yeah, I'm cooking. I cooked up. So I used some of your peppers, man. I've been cooking them down and making hot sauce out of them. And I'm just about through about a third of the peppers. 2/3 to go. There were also massive floods in Indonesia over the weekend. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where'd they go? Death toll passes 900 in Indonesia, Thailand, and Sri Lanka floods. That's a lot of souls. Yeah, just some major havoc going on in the region. Authorities in Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Thailand are racing to clear debris and find hundreds of missing people after more than 900 people died in devastating floods and landslides across the south of Asia. Gosh, what's been happening over the last several years? What's been happening a lot more often and in a more extreme way? I wouldn't, I don't know. I know the answer is out there. I know we can put our heads together and come up with the answer. What is the thing that's been happening more and more frequently in a more devastating way? Oh, that's right. It's floods. They hate Sri Lanka. In the latest example of the impact of the climate crisis on storm patterns, and that's right. That's what it is. It's like global warming creates more water vapor in the air. More water vapor in the air creates more flooding, creates more stronger storms, slower storms, stuck storms. And the cycle continues to get worse because it's getting hotter. No way, man. No way. Who needs sea level rise when the ocean just comes to you from on top of your head? When the ocean comes to you from the sky, you don't really need sea level rise. You just sit around and wait for it to come to you. In the latest example of the impact of the climate crisis on storm patterns and extreme weather, heavy monsoon rains exacerbated by a tropical storm have overwhelmed parts of Southeast Asia in recent days, leaving thousands of people stranded without shelter or critical supplies. Meanwhile, in Sri Lanka and South Asia, the death toll from floods and landslides caused by Cyclone Ditwa rose sharply on Sunday to 334, with many more still missing and low-lying areas of the capital, Colombo, underwater, authorities said. It is the worst natural disaster to hit the island in 2 decades since the devastating 2004 tsunami that killed about 31,000 people there and left more than 1 million homeless. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake, who had declared a state of emergency, vowed to build back with international support. Build back better. We are facing the largest and most challenging natural disaster in our history, he said in an address to the nation. Certainly, we will build a better nation than what existed before. In Indonesia, officials said that more than 442 people had died, and a further 402 were missing as authorities attempted to reach some of the hardest hit areas of Sumatra Island, where thousands of people were stranded without critical supplies. The water just rose up into the house and we were afraid, so we fled, then came back on Friday and the house was gone, destroyed. Afriyanti, 41, who only goes by one name, told Reuters in West Sumatra's capital, Padang, where she was sheltering. She and her family of 9 had made a tent shelter beside the single wall that remained of their home. My home and business are gone. The shop is gone. Nothing remains. I can only live near this one remaining wall. She said, at least 2 areas of Sumatra Island were still unreachable on Sunday. So I imagine the death toll is going to rise, most likely. Authorities said they deployed 2 warships from Jakarta to deliver aid. Associated Press reported that some people were struggling to find food and water after deluges triggered landslides, damaged roads, and downed communication lines. Yeah. So that happened in Thailand. At least 162 people were killed in one of the worst floods in decades. Authorities continued to deliver aid and clear the damage. Relief measures rolled out by the Thai government include compensation for households that lost family members. But there has been growing public criticism of Thailand's flood response, and 2 local officials have been suspended over their alleged failures. Suspended, you say? Huh. The annual monsoon season, which typically occurs between June and September, often brings heavy rain and flash floods. The climate crisis has affected storm patterns, including the duration and intensity of the season, leading to heavier rainfall, flash flooding, and stronger wind gusts. In Sri Lanka's capital on Sunday, low-lying areas were flooded after a powerful cyclone brought heavy rains that triggered mudslides across the island, killing hundreds and leaving many more missing. Nearly 148,000 people have been displaced and are housed in temporary shelters. All right. Dang. A lot of destruction. 6-7. Yeah, I think this is from the other day. People struggling to get out of this crazy mud. Let's see. Permanent El Nino conditions, says reflect the sun in the mid latitudes now, so the researchers say. Sure. I'd say that's pretty much what's happening. Probably the most surprising thing to me, says reflect the sun, less was said about car soup flooding and more about sea level rise 30 to 40 years ago. Yeah, and people still like the people that talk about, the people that want to tell you that climate change is all fake always refer to stuff that isn't really like relevant. It's just because they're just not really paying attention. So it's just, they end up sounding kind of dumb. Sorry if that offends anybody. Yeah, you just don't sound very intelligent. Oh, sea levels. Yeah, bro. They said it was going to be underwater. Well, you're not even. For one, there are several places that are increasingly more underwater over the last several years. So you don't even know what you're talking about. And then, it's other things are happening as well. So there you go. It is a multi-faceted, multi-front situation. That can be confusing, I guess, if you don't really, if you don't care or you don't really want to pay too much attention to it, then. Last thing I guess I'll cover for the day is it was reported that a child died in Moderna's own clinical trial of its mRNA COVID jab, and the company hid the death from the public. Wow. From Alex Berenson. This is not one of the 10 deaths the U.S. FDA reported. A young child died of cardiac arrest after being jabbed during Moderna's key COVID vaccine trial. Moderna has not reported the death to a public trial registry or published results that show the death, effectively hiding it for years. Why? What did the FDA know, and did it respond? The agency won't say. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that, several people, many people died from these jabs, or had very grave complications. And it's, they obviously don't want people talking about it. If sea level was rising, Trump would not buy Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, it's funny. Well, I don't know what the topography there is, but there is, Trump is famously building a seawall around his golf resort in Scotland because of sea level rise, because the sea is rising and he wants to protect his property. You thought that Johnson & Johnson was no? Well, I don't know which one was the worst one. I think they all had their. Well, and apparently it was like, depends on the batch you got, and depends on, all kinds of things. I'm sure there are millions of people out there who got the vaccine and are walking around and doing just fine. But, there are a lot of people that are not doing just fine. And, just from my own data from some friends of mine. I had several friends who either knew somebody or had direct contact with somebody who, had reactions to it. And some people didn't, Just because you didn't doesn't mean it's all good. It's safe. That's not how it works. The J&J shot was pulled early. Yes, Steph. Yes. Well, all the evidence points to the fact that they're going to keep, they're not going to really embrace the idea of like letting the cat out of the bag anytime soon. So, and the reasons for the shots also, in the entire scenario, COVID and everything, is multi-layered, just like 9/11. There were, a lot of different agendas being fulfilled within that entire scenario. Yep, Chuck. Yep. Yeah, blood clots. Famously, remember the whole died suddenly thing? Remember all the people that fell out? Young kids falling out and playing soccer or basketball or whatever, football. I mean, that was real. Those weren't, as far as I know, AI generated videos. Those were real videos of people just falling over unconscious or dead onto fields. And seemed to be a lot of those right after the vaccine was administered. Maybe. All right, guys, that does it for me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of the few, the proud, or the many, the multitude, whichever you like. Oh, here's Nancy Pelosi. Speaking of Nancy Pelosi and frauds, here's Nancy cheering on Juan Guaido. Remember? Trump, in his first term, brought Juan Guaido to Congress, and everybody was like, yes. Yes. We love regime change. Everybody, Democrats, Republicans, we love it. And Nancy Pelosi was like, oh, yeah.
Maduro is an illegitimate ruler, a tyrant who brutalizes his people. But Maduro's grip on tyranny will be smashed and broken. Here this evening is a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your family.
Why did you do? What is this? What is this? All right, guys. When it's in the interest of U.S. imperialism and screwing you over, they all stand and cheer, or they all stand and vote yay. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and see you tomorrow at the regular time. Until next time, beware the bear. Bye.